Yippee-ki-yay, mothers and fathers. Welcome back to another episode. I'm the Teacup Kid and I'm still hosting this here show. And you are in for a ride of your life today because today... Oh no! No! Oh my... Oh... He's so precious. I gave birth to that. Well, this here is a time and a day for celebrating. Welcome to Teacup for One. Here you go. Drink it up. My name is the Teacup Kid, and I got 2 degrees. And in the great spirit of the great movie ride, this week I'm still a cowboy in space. It makes no sense, but when the Teacup Kid commits to something, he commits to something. Saddle on up, partners, and get ready for the wildest ride in the universe, because this week we are talking all about the 1979 Ridley Scott film, Alien. This is Alien. You are with Sigourney Weaver aboard the spaceship Nostromo. Something has gone wrong. One by one, the crew have vanished, and somewhere in the ship, a terrifying creature waits to claim its next victim. Warning, remain in your vehicle. The area you are entering is extremely dangerous. Proceed with caution. Great movie ride fun fact. Now, the Great Movie Ride represents a long and complicated history between the Disney theme parks and the Alien franchise. Believe it or not, there were actually multiple attempts to bring Alien into the Disney theme parks, both before and after the success of the Great Movie Ride. After the success of bringing the Star Wars into the Disney theme parks in 1987 with Star Tours, Michael Eisner wanted to find another franchise that could act as a draw for some of them older park guests, alright? Now, science fiction and fantasy, and especially space, were really popular in and around the late 1980s, but the trouble here was that Disney never had much success launching their own science fiction franchise. I mean, who wants to go on an attraction based on Tron? Am I right? What's that? I'm not right? Well, I'm gonna finish my story anyway. So with the success of the 1979 film Alien and the renewed popularity of the franchise with the 1980s film Aliens, it's basically the same title just with a little S at the end, don't matter. Some Imagineers thought that it was the perfect thing for the Disney theme parks, you know? You got Mickey, you got Minnie, you got Donald, Goofy, and a Xenomorph. That's the real Fab Five, if you ask me. So they came up with a little attraction that they called Nostromo, which they named after the ship from the original Alien film. The idea was that it was going to be a ride-through attraction where you got to massacre xenomorphs with a gun. Or, you know, shoot them with a cute little laser thing. Some Imagineers decided to veto the idea because, you know, murder. But that idea was eventually recycled and turned into the Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin that we all know and love today. However, after the terrifying success of the alien scene in the Great Movie Ride, the Imagineers started to re-examine the possibilities of giving the Xenomorph her own attraction. Now, the Magic Kingdom had an attraction that was already set for closure called Mission to Mars. It was a theater in the round attraction where you went on a mission to Mars. The initial pitch was to do a minimal refurbishment on the space to create a multi-sensory experience where you got to encounter the Xenomorph from Alien. Now, in a lot of ways, it was a brilliant, cost-effective idea, but Michael Eisner did meet with some resistance, partly because the Alien franchise was rated R, and at the time, the parks had a policy of only basing rides and attractions around movies with a G or a PG rating. And on top of that, Alien is really damn scary, and this was a Disney park. And so they did the only logical thing. They went ahead with the attraction as originally planned, but they just scrapped the Alien franchise entirely and imagineered themselves a brand new species of terrifying extraterrestrial. And they in fact named the attraction the ExtraTERROResterial Alien Encounter. And it was just as scary as it would have been with the Xenomorph, only now, because it didn't have the Alien branding attached to it, people went into this ride with no idea that it was going to be the most terrifying part of their vacation. Assuming they weren't traveling with the in-laws, am I right? By all accounts, the ExtraTERROResterial Alien Encounter was a phenomenal attraction, but it closed all too soon because it was too scary. But that's kind of perfect when you're dealing with something born out of the Alien franchise, because let's be honest here, Alien is a straight-up horror movie. And its inclusion in the Great Movie Ride is actually kind of genius, because by putting Alien into the ride, you're really killing two birds with one stone, or two John Hurts with one Chestbuster.
Oh no, not again.
If you catch my drift. Because with Alien, you're getting horror and science fiction rolled into one. Now on the surface, Alien is representing the classic science fiction film. The show scene features a spaceship, sirens, technology going haywire, all the classic visuals that we associate with the sci-fi. But anyone who has seen Alien knows that at its heart, it's a horror movie. You know, this film is actually fascinating to me because it opens up this ongoing discussion, this fascinating question, which is, what is the difference between science fiction and horror? You know? I think there's a very fine line between the two, but there is a clear distinction to be made. A lot of people buy into the philosophy that if a movie takes place in space, it's automatically science fiction. But listen here, cowboys and cowgirls. Space does not a science fiction movie make. Just look at the Star Wars. That takes place in space, but there is little to no science about that movie, you know? It is pure fantasy. You got wizards, you got princesses, you got magic. It's basically King Arthur with lightsabers. And then counter to that, there are some incredible science fiction pieces that take place right here with 2 feet planted on God's good earth. You know, like The Truman Show, or Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, or every episode of Black Mirror. Well, except for the Star Trek episode. So you might be asking, Teacup Kid, in that case, how do you define science fiction? And to you I say it don't matter none, because I'm just a lowly cowboy. But you know whose opinion we should listen to? The greatest sci-fi writer in history, Ray Bradbury. According to Ray Bradbury, I define science fiction as the art of the possible. Fantasy is the art of the impossible. Science fiction is the history of ideas, and they're always the ideas that work themselves out and become real and happen in the world. And I think this whole idea of the art of the possible is the real key here. It roots all real science fiction in this big what-if question, you know? What if this thing was invented? Or what if this thing existed? If this was possible, how would it affect people? I think technology's relationship with humanity is the heart of science fiction. You want proof? Just look at the movie that most critics deem the most important science fiction film of all time, Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. From a community of apes learning how to use tools for the first time to a supercomputer wreaking havoc, the entire movie is based around the social evolution that comes with technological advancement. Science fiction is all about ideas and forward-moving change, and yes, sometimes that can be scary, like with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein or H.G. Wells in The Invisible Man. But even though we classify those characters as monsters, they are only scary because of the forward-moving change that they represent. They are the art of the possible. And that's why we're scared of them. I would argue that horror is the opposite of science fiction. It's not about moving forward. It's a genre that embraces humanity's most primal instinct. Fear. Horror can manifest in a number of ways, so I've been told. The Teacup Kid don't care for scary movies too much. But I suspect that monsters are really just the manifestation of all the things that trigger these primal anxieties. Ghosts make us face the fear of the unknown associated with death. From Bram Stoker through to Twilight, vampires have always represented a revolt against sexual repression. When you look at zombies, for example, you see the fear and anxiety associated with a total loss of control. Both the inability to control an infection and stop it from infecting the entire world, but also the personal loss of control over your body and your mind. And then we have the Xenomorph. What could this eggplant emoji monster possibly represent? Maybe we should ask Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud. We do not have time to unpack all the Freudian implications of the Xenomorph, nor do I have the resolve to research it properly, but we can skim the surface just a little bit. The Xenomorph was designed by Swiss artist H.R. Giger, who was known for his nightmare-inducing surrealist work that fused man and machine, which is kind of the visual mandate for Alien. The reason this whole movie is so scary is because the damn creature blends in with the ship so well. It's like perfect camouflage. But it's not just that the Xenomorph is a cool visual. It is so scary because it is a physicalization of the movie's main theme about life and creation, but more specifically, survival. It's just like the creepy robot android man said.
A survivor. Unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality.
Like I said, horror is all about tapping into primal instincts, and the alien is a creature that only acts on its primal instincts. This is a creature that is just looking to feed, reproduce, and survive, devoid of any self-regulation. It is the physical manifestation of what Sigmund Freud called the id. According to Sigmund Freud, the id is the dark, inaccessible part of our personality. And that is why the creature is so scary. It's just like the android says. It's devoid of any remorse or conscience, or what Freud would call the superego. And the irony here is that that is exactly why the creature is able to take over the ship in the first place. When the Facehugger first attacks Ollivander, he's supposed to be kept in a 24-hour quarantine to avoid potentially contaminating the entire crew. But the crew decides to go against protocol and against Sigourney Weaver's orders, and out of pure empathy, they bring him onto the ship in an effort to save his life. They are prioritizing his own survival while potentially risking their own. That is something the Xenomorph would never do. And then the rest of the movie shows us the struggle for survival that ensues between this perfect specimen, unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality, and a team full of humans who have all those things. It don't matter that this movie takes place in space. This is a film about fear. The fear of what a being is capable of doing when it is bred to survive and reproduce completely free of conscience. This is not a movie that is meant to make you think about what humans are capable of doing or achieving. This is a movie that is meant to make you think about survival. And it is horrifying. Anyway, partners, that concludes yet another episode of the Teacup 4-1 Great Movie Marathon. Now, let the good old Teacup Kid know in the comment section down below. Do you think Alien is a horror movie or a science fiction movie? And don't you be one of those smart people saying, oh, it is both. You gotta make a decision. Just like how Ripley had to make a decision. And make sure you check out all the other channels that are participating in the Great Movie Marathon this week. I'm going to link all of them for you in the video description down below. Go and check out what they had to say about Alien. And if you want to be the first to know when we release a new video for the Great Movie Marathon, well, spoiler alert, it's usually Wednesdays, but make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on any of the other great content coming out on this channel. If you haven't subscribed already, it's the easiest thing in the world, partner. All you gotta do is click on my face. Thanks for joining me again today, everyone. My name's the Teacup Kid, and I got 2 degrees, and that's the Teacup for 1. Go away now, you hear? Alien.